The John Talks and Stuff podcast. Episode 3.
Connor Chadwick.
Yes, so hello, welcome to the continuation of the podcast. This is episode 3. Here I am with the wonderful Connor Chadwick. Hello, good sir.
Hello, John. How are you?
I am well. But yeah, so talking about podcast-wise, you well? What have you been up to recently?
I have been working, as you well know anyway, because we're on Skype and talk a lot anyway.
Yeah.
I did some editing of some audios, but mostly working and trying to sleep.
Yeah. I've sort of just. I mean, I haven't been working, but I've definitely been working on things. Speaking of working on things, what have you been working on creatively?
Well, yesterday I finished editing episode 1 of Doctor Who Uncharted Pass, Volume 4.
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing some scripts for a new time traveller volume that's coming out 11 months from now. I've finished writing another volume that's a spin-off of Doctor Who Resurrection, and that's currently going through the recording stages at the moment.
Yes, I think I was there for the read-through of one of the episodes. I'm not going to say what it is, but I think I was.
Yes, you were.
Yeah. But yeah, so talking about that, I want to go on to how we met and the absurdity of it, because when you think about it, it's highly unlikely how we became friends.
Yeah. I mean, I was about 6 months late.
Yeah, for all those who don't know, I have spoken about this on the Overton Audios podcast, but this, I met Chadders over YouTube comments, because I commented on...
Let's specify here. We haven't met.
we haven't physically met, but...
We became aware of one another.
We interacted with each other on a wonderful morn in February, or probably the afternoon, because I'm not a morning person. But I commented on one of his audios. I think it was the Survival of the Cyberman or something like that.
You commented on it back in November 2017 when it came out.
Yeah.
And I got back to you in February 2018 when they thought, I've got a comment. And I'm like, it's been 5 months.
Yes, it's been 5 months. I've got friends. And then I was like commenting about, hey, I really like this. And I was like, do you want to do a multi-doctor thing? And then we ended up just transferring details. And eventually we started talking through YouTube Messenger. And then that quickly moved on to email and then Skype. It's absurd because it's so unlikely. Literally, our friendship and the content we've made with each other has all sprung from the off chance that I commented on one of his videos. So it's so weird. It's so weird.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, because at the time when we started talking, in terms of my audios, my Doctor Who based audios, they weren't even yet put into DW 2012 universe yet. That was still in the early beginnings.
Yeah, that was very much
just as I was getting it. Yeah, it was just as I was getting it sorted in March, and then you were there.
Yeah, you weren't very serious with the audios. And speaking of audios, I was making some at the same time. I was making some Doctor Who ones, and he ended up playing the companion and just helped me out. So thank you, Chadders. Thank you very much.
No worries. It was a case of you'd written. The companion was called Sylvia, I think. I'd read the first episode. Oh no, sorry, you hadn't even written it. You'd written the first 2 scenes, but were just stuck. And I came in and wrote it for you, and then made myself the companion.
Yeah.
With discussion from you, of course.
Of course, you didn't just do it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm your companion now.
Yeah. so he plays Robert Miles in my Doctor Who audio adventures because at the time I had a friend from school who was saying, yeah, I'd love to be a part of some audio dramas and help out, and she never did message me back with the lines when I sent her those, because I wrote a couple of scenes because I wasn't entirely sure how she'd do it. And so she's like, oh yeah, lovely, and she never actually recorded it. In all honesty, I don't think she was actually interested. But when it comes down to, like, Chad has helped me out, and now he plays Robert Miles, who has got his own spin-off series and Torchwood audio series. But going on to more original things, Shelled In. I was very anxious to talk about this. I was very anxious to talk about this because Chad, I think you recommended talking about this a couple of days ago or / yesterday, even though I was a bit wary because I'm not very proud of Shelled In. It's my first original thing, I wrote it.
Is it on YouTube now?
It's on YouTube now. It was released around, I think it was released on the 20th of August 2018 on SoundCloud because I was that scared of it, of SoundCloud. And then it was released the following year in around, I don't know what the date is, but it was released around the following year in 2019. After I released Limbo Volume 1, I think. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe beforehand because I would have wanted to bury it. But it's a talk on mental health, and while it has an interesting backstory. Like, it was developed from a play that I did at drama when I was still doing drama in year 9. I was developing a play with a load of people, and I really liked the idea, so I carried it on and made an audio drama about it. But then I just sort of lost interest. The
reason I love it so much, I know that, I think in all fairness, there's nothing holding you back from developing it further. It was your first audio drama that wasn't Doctor Who.
Yeah, and
it was stepping away, and if anything, it's unlike anything you've done since, as well. Like for example, you've released as of this recording, you've released the teaser for Storage of the Condemned, and obviously Limbo has happened since as well, volumes 1 and 2, as of recording, and then obviously there's also Torchwood and Doctor Who. They've always had kind of like a horror sci-fi vibe to them. This one was about, as far as I remember off the top of my head, it was about a man who'd been in a war. Yeah, the
Vietnam War, and he was meant to be like,
yes,
40,
and he had PTSD, and as a result, he couldn't control himself properly and was verbally and occasionally physically abusive to his children. I played the father in that, and I think there's a lot more I could have done justice with it in terms of my performance, because back then when we made it, I was running about working. I was having to work away from home 5 days a week, so I only got the chance to record or sit down and do anything at the weekends. So I know that it isn't as powerful as I would like it to be, because now I am able to stay at home and not have to travel too far away for work. I can, come back home every day, which means I'd have more time to look at it. There's a lot of it's a lot of poignant, deep, raw subjects, and I think, to be honest, there's a lot to expand on there.
Yeah, there's a lot,
especially in terms of the mental health side.
It was basically because around 2018, like from the 2010s decade, saw a massive push in mental health awareness, and so at the time I was like, okay, we'll take that and we'll put that forward. And so I was trying to adapt something that we had made, which wasn't the best. Like the scene where we meet, I can't remember because it's so long ago, but there's a character who turns up who's related to one of the kids. Initially, this sounds really weird. I've never told anyone this. But initially,
oh god,
us young school budding children, she was a prostitute. She was a prostitute.
Oh dear.
And it made no sense when you think about it. It made no sense whatsoever.
So that was the original story.
That was the original story for the person who was related. She was like an adult, but it was a joke. It was meant to be like a really immature joke between everyone, where it's like, oh, prostitute. But I changed it because I thought I was like kind of detracted from it. Because it was played out for laughs. Like we had. I think her name was Ellie, and we had.
In fairness, you could develop that. You could develop that into something else.
I could. I really, even though I am not exactly the most proud of this because it's my first audio drama. I'm the most uneasy about it, and I'm very you know, I think if I had maybe made it a bit longer, refined some of the dialogue, and also done a bit more research, then it would have probably come out a bit better. Because obviously I understand certain factors of mental health, and I understand how things can affect you, but I'm also just a bit... I think I could have done a bit more with it. I mean, I haven't listened to it for a while, but, you know, if I go back and listen to it, I'd love to novelize it or something one day, because I just want to do the story justice, because I just don't think I did at the time. I don't know. I'm a bit iffy about Sheldon. Sheldon, like, it is good that it was my first original thing. Like, and it's the most. It's very different to everything else I've made, because everything's very much science fiction based. This isn't, you know, like you said earlier, Chadders. And well, yeah. So, in terms of playing the character, how was it?
Pretty good. Really enjoyed it. I'm just looking now at your Dot Design Dramas SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you put up there was a Dalek Voices showcase, 1 to 10.
I wasn't...
And then you've...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was saying, and then you've put down the trailers for Dr. Holmes and The Sacred Gift Part 1.
Yeah, it was. There was a time where I wanted to move to SoundCloud, not literally fully move, but I wanted to upload simultaneously because I like there being a website where I could just upload just audio. But obviously, then I realised you have to pay.
Yeah, you have to pay a tenner per month to do that, which is why I've cancelled mine now as well. I didn't want to. I mean, I spent all that time uploading onto SoundCloud, and I had a backlog. But by the time when you switch off that SoundCloud Pro, it means you can only have the first 10 tracks. And as a result, it only does the last 10 tracks you uploaded, so everything went because of how much I schedule upload.
Yeah.
That it just became empty anyway, and that you'd have to wait for a year and a half for the next release to come along, so it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
For me to still have it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have some kind of audio sharing platform, because obviously YouTube's great, but nobody really sees the audios unless people actually share it, because the YouTube algorithm isn't very good for content creators who are trying to start out and make.
True, but even then, when I was on SoundCloud, the most views I had on an audio was, or listens, I suppose, was 100. And all the other ones, like for example, Transcendence for my audios, they've got, now I'm looking at the views now, it's between 200 to 300 views per episode, which is amazing. I'd never got those views before anyway, but on SoundCloud it's 3.
Yeah.
So realistically, whilst I prefer SoundCloud because it literally the audios are there for it, it makes sense, but the views aren't there. YouTube is where most people are, so you have to go there.
I think YouTube has always been, YouTube has always been like the exciting place to really upload things, because it's free, and yeah, you have got like things that have popped up in the last few years, like Article 13, the ad apocalypse, that hasn't really affected us because we're really small content creators. But it's sort of just like, it's just such a good platform, and I remember like even when I was like really, really young, I was like, oh, I really want to make that content, man, because I just I just really wanted to make content, and I've always loved making content, and now I make audio dramas. It's really fun. And while I'm not proud of certain things of Sheldon, I am proud that I actually made it. I know it's only 10 minutes long, but there is a part of me that's like, oh, that was my first original audio drama. It was shit, but
it's like a little short story, really.
Yeah. I mean, one day, what I'd love to do is I'd like to do both of these things, to be honest. I'd like to novelize it and throw out the story and make it the best it could be, and also visualize it and make a short film. Like, I could make it for my college short film if I really wanted to, And, that's something I'd love to do. Yeah, to be honest, I just think I'd love to adapt it, because I don't think I did, like, mental health justice. I don't know. I don't know, really, because, I'm a bit divided on it, to be honest. And speaking of fragments, what was your experience and what started them?
Oh God, those, yeah. Started them 5 years ago. There's not as many as it sounds when you say it like that. There's only, I think, 5 of them over 5 years. I did three, and they're only like a minute or two long.
Yeah.
What happened was it was during a little bit of it, like inspiration, because when I was younger and making fan films and my own little films, I'd take my camera with me, and if we fancied making a film, we would just do it. So that's what happened. Me and my friend Ollie, we were doing some client work for a festival, like, you know, setting up, like making commercial videos for them. So I already had my camera with me, and we finished really, really early. We finished at something like 2 or 3, and we still had the rest of the day, and it was the middle of the summer. And Ollie hadn't filmed anything in ages, and I was feeling in a filmy mood, obviously. And then he just suggested, let's make something that's just 60 seconds. No, it doesn't have to be too big. And then I thought, there's this filmmaker I know called Bertie Gilbert. I don't know him personally, I just know of him through his films. He was doing something like that, but they were more longer form, like 5-ish minutes, where it would be like obviously a single story, but really simplistic, where it would be like a voicemail or something. Yeah. And that voicemail is giving you clues whilst the visuals are playing out, showing you other things, and you're connecting the dots. And that's what gave me the idea to do these fragments things. I did one with Ollie that day, and it was really just maybe a one-off thing, but I really enjoyed it. So I met up with a couple of other friends who, like, not all in one go, just over the course of the rest of the year, and we felt like making something, and literally took the second one, which was called Tides. That one took 20 minutes to film. It's just a guy stood staring whilst having audio, but the third one took longer because it was just me in my house filming myself.
Yeah, that's the beauty of like these fragments. That's what I like, because it's so short. They're only like, you know, 1 to 2 or 3, maximum 3 minutes, and they literally just tell a story. And you know what I like about it is that it's not too on the nose about its message, but it is about messages.
Well, yeah,
you know?
and I took a gap. I thought maybe I'd do 3 a year, but then afterwards I went back into, because I got a bit. What happened was I was making this series called, well, I say, like, as people don't know, I've already mentioned it's gone to audio now. I was making Time Traveller. It was the second visual series, and that had got messed up so much. It got pulled, twisted, cancelled, then brought back. It was just going back and forth that I got so tired of working on longer form things. It was like making just small little films to feel productive whilst this big thing was falling back. So then the following year I just went back to it and made new things, and obviously Waterside came along, and then after that mammoth of a project went by at the beginning of this year. Actually, it was Christmas. It was the end of last year, Christmassy sort of time. Met up with a mate of mine called Hugo. We then thought, you know what, let's do series 2. It's, you know, it's only been 5 years, and then we thought we'd make that. And then I met up with Dan and Anya in January, and we filmed another one. But I haven't. Usually, I'm making 3 a year, and I haven't made the third one yet. So I think if before the pandemic came along, you and I were saying we were going to try and meet up in the summer.
Yeah,
but
we had ideas. We don't know when's that going to happen, but yeah, it would be nice, because you know I do like the fragments. They just tell such a short story, and I do have a couple of things that I'd like to do for that. But thinking on the things you've made, and you've obviously gone through quite a lot. You know, Time Traveller, Waterside. Let's take you back all the way to when you started your filmmaking with.
Oh God.
With your fan films from when you were a kid, and what it was like from then, and how you've progressed since then, or if you've done stuff before.
Got?
Oh, I've got. Well, you know how long this was meant to be.
Yes. Okay. So I'll try and make it brief.
Okay.
Brief.
We'll go through each year.
But... Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make it brief. All right, then fine. Brief but specific.
Brief but specific. Go through each year, but briefly.
Okay. March 2007. I had a friend at school called Ellis. He had made a YouTube channel in August 2006, and all he was doing was filming with his webcam his hamster making weird noises. That was his YouTube channel.
Sounds lovely.
And I found it I found it fascinating that you could film something and put it up on the internet and you could watch it. I sound like such an old man saying this.
To be honest, I've always found it fascinating. Like when I was like a younger kid, like with like around 2013-ish for me, I used to watch loads of gameplay videos, and I found it like transcending that these people would play games for other people's enjoyment who couldn't afford to buy the games. You know, and
Yeah,
I thought,
but even then, when you look at it, like look, I don't know if you had the same experience that I did, but for me it was so magical as a kid because you're watching YouTube videos that already exist, and then you realise as well, I can make videos like these guys. I can be like these guys. They're just uploading videos of whatever the hell they're doing, like little funny comedy sketches and little films and everything, and you're like, wow, I wish I could do that. And you could. That was what was so magical. So I started my YouTube channel on the 9th of May 2007. It was called The Filmer 2. Which I don't. That's not none. The only word in that was the. Filmer is not a word, and it just had a number 2 at the end for some reason. It wasn't even 1. But either way, I made 2 channels: the Filmer 2 and the Filmer 3. The Filmer 3 ended up being my most successful venture on YouTube ever. So it's still to this day. I ended up with 5,000 subscribers.
yeah.
And that was because I was using this website called VO. Like VEOH, and what you could do then, that was like a very early version of like YouTube video downloader, and I was downloading clips of Family Guy and re-uploading them onto the Filmer 3, and I got 5,000 subscribers before the copyright guys went in and went, no, this is enough.
Oh, that sounds magical. Do you still have that channel, or did you delete it?
No, mate, this was back in the day where you didn't get strikes. It was just wiped.
It was just what they were just like, oh no, you can't do that. We'll just take it off.
Yeah. There wasn't like the stuff we have now where it's like copyright claims or you can get matched third-party content. They just go get rid of it. Because back then, this is before YouTube was actually corporate. It was just a video site.
I remember
it was almost like torrenting. Actually, it was almost like torrenting in a way for YouTube back then.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I heard that YouTube was a dating site. I heard that it
used to be,
out,
yeah.
But then Google bought it
in 2005. In 2005, it was a video dating site where you put like your dating profile up there. But then Google bought them in 2006 and made it into a video sharing site because Google had their own video site called Google Video, which if you look really, really, really hard, you can find some of my old fan films still on Google Video.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm not going to show them, but
they probably take. In all fairness, it depends on if Google Video is still around. I haven't checked in ages, and I don't want to know. But look, either way, brief and specific on this story. I made a few fan films on this YouTube channel, but then I was recording Doctor Who music with my webcam. To get the soundtrack with that because I didn't know how to download.
Did you like have a CD or something like that? If a CD.
No. I just went on. I found YouTube channels that were uploading it, and I just had to record the audio with my webcam to get the track. So it was really like, you know, when you record something off of your computer and it's quite loud, and you can hear it's like the sound of the audio and the decibels. It was just like that. It was me going, Master, stop, and it's just like the music going bum, 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 bum.
That's the beauty of Murray Gold's soundtrack. It's literally just like it's so in your face.
Yeah, and I still got copyrighted, so that channel went. In 2008, I found my old camcorder, and so I was able to leave my living room because I was using my living room with the webcam, and I was putting like those toy TARDIS play sets.
Oh yeah, I remember I saw one of them. You showed it to me where you put like the toy TARDIS police box in front of the camera.
I cheated the perspective. I put it in front of the webcam and then stood back so we looked the same size, and I was pretending to use it. It was still my finest moment. The only problem is, if I pulled a switch and said the TARDIS was in flight, I had to quickly run over, press the button for the rotor to start moving up and down, and then I'd have to quickly run over and try and cut it. But then there'd be a huge jump cut. And on top of that, you couldn't hear me through the audio of the TARDIS because it's right next. That one's right next to the webcam, and I'm over there going, "Well then," this sort of stuff.
Oh,
but then, either way, I found my camcorder, and then I filmed a whole episode where I was running about in my back garden, going, "We must stop them." And the irony is, if you want to know this, and it's kind of Well, yeah, I think you'll find it funny. And the people who know my audios will find it funny. The first ever visual episode I made when I was a kid, outside, was called "The Fatherhood of the Sons."
Oh my god! Oh my god!
And then yes, and then I remade it because I ended up losing that one because I remade it in 2008, late 2008 in the end. But either way, I then realised the camcorder, the cable didn't work going onto my computer, so I just had a whole episode on a camcorder that I couldn't fix. So do you know what I had to do?
What did you have to do?
It was on this tape camcorder. So if you went back to watch it and press play, it would play the whole thing. So I had to prop my camera down with the fold out screen, angle it, and hold the webcam, and record it from my webcam.
I think I did the same thing. I mean, I don't know how I sound when I say this, but I did the same thing because I used to be obsessed with stop motion when I was a younger kid, and there was this channel called Batman March who made amazing Eighth Doctor stop motions, and I really wanted a copy of them because I was only allowed a limited time on the computer downstairs, and so I had this mini disc camcorder that I'd record for up to an hour, and I'd record the whole thing so I could watch it on repeat. And it was ridiculous because, I think I've still got those videos on the camcorder. But the thing is, what was horrible is that I got annoyed at myself for the narration I put over it. I used to, whenever the titles would go, I'd be like, Doctor Who, So it was ridiculous. But then, it was ridiculous. But focusing on, original stuff, what was your first original thing, and can you remember when you made it?
Yes. I think.
Dear. Oh dear.
Actually, no, sorry, that was a James Bond fan film.
So you've made James Bond fan films, good to know. Yeah.
It was called Jess Bond. It was James Bond's sister. Before, later on, when I got older, I realised James Bond is actually an orphan. So, I was like, oh dear, he can't.
He can't actually have one. Oh no, it's creative license. Creative license.
Yes. Basically, James Bond got sniped in the head at the beginning, so he's not much of an agent in this universe.
Yeah, not very good.
Had to step in. No, and then but either way, I think it might have been a film I made in 2010 called Selfish.
Yeah.
Me and my sister made it together when we were on holiday in Cyprus.
Yeah.
And it was about it's morbid, but it's about an abusive brother who wouldn't let her have a holiday. So he'd be like, oh yeah, me and my sister get along fine. Look, let's leave everybody else, and then I'd lock her in a room and give her rotten apples to eat. and then she answered back at one point, and I beat her to death.
Oh, sounds
sounds
lovely.
but to put a funny spin on it, to make it not end on such a dark note.
Yeah.
When she died, it faded out, and then when it faded back in, she was still lying there, and she got up and looked to camera going. She got up to camera and went, "Abuse is happening in most houses," and had a huge speech, and I had to have, and basically it was like an information video.
Is it like one of those PSAs
that play out?
You know those PSAs from 2015, 14, where they're like, abuse is wrong, suicide, and it.
Yeah, it was like that. She died and then came back to life, going, "If you're suffering abuse," it was like, what?
Oh, that sounds amazing. I've got to say, I want to see that. But yeah,
and then me and my friend at the same time were developing a series called. And this is a bit of a lengthy title for a short film or a series. It was called Friendships Beyond All Boundaries, which I still have I think I still have the opening titles for because it's all we shot.
Sounds lovely.
It was basically, and I don't know what it was, but basically, my friend was playing a blind man.
Okay.
I was playing. It was meant to be like these three people who have different qualities about themselves are friends no matter what, despite their differences. So he was playing a blind man.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is the only difference between it was me and my sister were playing characters with that as well, and we only got the opening titles done. But
I mean,
there was no difference aside from gender. There was no difference between me and my sister. So what's the message there? Friendship beyond all boundaries. A blind man, a man who can see, and a woman. It's like, hang on, what's the boundary?
Yeah, it's a bit. But I mean, Well, I swear you've shown me a film that you've done reactions in your monthly vlogs where you become manifest. Do you remember what I'm talking? Do you know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
God, no! I erased that until just now. That was my first. Even then, it was based on Rise of the Omen, and the reason why I did that. But the reason why I did that was because another fan film maker did a fan film of Rise of the Omen that I got inspired from his fan film to do my own fan film. So it's like a fan film.
A fan film of a fan film. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It was an interesting watch. I'll tell you that now.
Well, yeah, that one was called The Broken Man, and basically, this guy was living a normal life. A ring just appeared in a letter or somewhere in his house.
Yeah, for some reason.
He put it on. It was almost like a mix, actually, of Rise of the Omen and The Mask. You know, when he puts on that mask and transforms, but he put on the ring, and then murdered his mother, and then ran off. And
so
then,
blunt. It's just like, he just murdered his mother.
Yeah, and then he went on holiday with his sister who hadn't noticed. And then she said, "That's a really nice ring." And he goes, "Yes, it is, isn't it?" And he throws it away after realising that, oh no, I've murdered my mother. But then he ends up going. Basically, we went to the Cardiff Science Museum, and where they have all these. You know that plasma thing in a bowl, like it on a glass bowl, where you can put your hand on it, and the little plasma will attach to your hand.
Yeah.
We were doing loads of that, and pretending that was like the devil or something taking over me slowly. I don't know. It was meant to be I don't know. It was meant to be a sequence where I was losing it, but it was just us in the science museum. And there's one where it sprays out smoke, so we just filmed a vent spraying smoke, and it's just me going. And then the ring. Well, yeah, and then the ring reappeared, and I put it on for some reason and murdered my sister. And then my granddad shows up later going, "How are you?" Not noticing that his daughter and granddaughter are missing. And I was the only one to return from the holiday. And then I chase him and murder him. Not wearing the ring, though, which is odd. And then at the end, I play another character who's just a guy with a hoodie on and some glasses. And I chase down. And I kill that character. And then I feel so guilty. I take off the ring, swallow it, and then stab myself and die. And then the after credits was me just getting up without, like, as if nothing had happened, and walking off. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like your version.
It sounds like an odd fever dream.
Yeah, it's your version of Sheldon, sir.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I did take a break from Doctor Who fan films from about 2010 until 2014, and then 2 years later followed up with the audios.
Yeah, and when it comes
which were rare.
Yeah.
They were rare anyway, and then following that, pain as I know it today.
Yeah. Yeah, going on to like your original things, what was your first original series that you were a part of, other than Supers? Because I know Supers was around the same era.
No, Supers, realistically, the first ever time we made Supers was in 2008? 9? 2008, and 2008, but that was based on an American series on NBC called Heroes.
Hey, Christopher Eccleston was in that one, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. That's when he had to flee the country due to being blacklisted by the BBC.
Yeah,
but
shit.
Anyway, it was based on that. But the ones I've been making in audio now are, when I stopped making it, Ollie carried on making it with his character in it, and he changed the continuity to be able to be its own thing, because we never said we were part of that universe. We always implied, but
yeah.
He basically saved it, to be honest, otherwise we wouldn't be making it still. In terms of original series, though,
could talk about Time Traveller.
The original Time Traveller we made was based on another fan film called Time Agent.
Yeah, I've seen the first episode of that. I think it's the first episode anyway. It's got someone dressed up in David Tennant's costume, I think, or maybe I'm not thinking about the right thing.
Ignore that series. It gets much better as it goes into series 2.
Yeah.
But when I then rebooted Time Traveller in 2014, we took the story elements from that original Time Traveller and adapted it to make a more coherent sense. So it was certainly more distanced and arguably the most original. Arguably the most original it can be when it's a concept of someone coming back in time to stop something from happening.
So when did the original Time Traveller start and end, and when did the new series start and end? Obviously, I know the audios are 2020 onwards.
We made, and the audios are continuing from the reboot we did. 2010 until September 2013 was the original Time Traveller. We made 4 series in that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got cancelled because my YouTube channel got flagged for copyright.
Oh,
so
copyright.
I just made that's why I don't use copyrighted music in anything I care about.
Yeah.
But in terms of the reboot, that came out in October 2014. And that third and visual series ended in 2017, followed by the audio's continuation February 2020, which we're still obviously working on developing now, and kind of doing a Torchwood with it, like the Big Finish Torchwood, where they then continued it.
Yeah, I like that. It is quite cool. But yeah, then obviously afterwards you've made a few films since then, obviously. Do you want to run me through that? And then we can talk about Waterside.
Oh, lovely. Other films I've made that. I made a film called Switched Off. That was for my final year university final major project. I'm actually going to be remaking that in audio form because there was so many things fell through. It was meant to be like The Social Network meets Social Network meets something else. That I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, how was it though? Because obviously, do you find that you miss the educational side of doing films? Because obviously,
no, I miss being able to educate myself. Yeah. Universities and film, they only work in very specific high-end universities. The university I went to was the University of Essex. It's the Southend-on-Sea campus, for those who may know it or want to look it up. Although I am about to badmouth them, so maybe don't.
Connor Chadwick recommended it to you.
No word of a lie here.
Yeah.
I learned more from my friend at university in 10 minutes than I did in those 3 years.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem because it's less about actually knowing the information. It's about that piece of paper / the certificate you're given
exactly.
at the end of the year.
With my friend, it was so simple. I think I've told you about this before, but on a DSLR, when you film it, it's incredibly high in contrast and colours. But you've actually got the colour palette you can change and make everything neutral, which means you've actually got more colour to work with in the edit when you grade it. But he taught me that in 10 minutes, and I've learnt more about that and developed more about that than I did in those 3 years. The tutors went. Oh, I don't want to go too ranty, but it's what got me swore me off going back to doing education again. I'd rather educate myself.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned quite a lot because I've watched a lot of videos on filmmaking in the last couple of over lockdown. I've been educating myself in filmmaking.
If you watch, the thing is, if you're watching videos of filmmaking, that's just as good because those videos are specifically for that. But when I was at uni, the tutors would just be like, "Get on with your project," and then leave you to it for an hour or two, and you'd just be left there going like, "Okay, no thoughts or nothing to teach today. You are a teacher."
Yeah, I mean,
but it was just really lazily handled, and I wasn't happy. Which is why I went and did some short courses afterwards.
I mean, I'd like to. I like to endeavour in so many things. I'd like to get a degree in film and TV because my sort of default is that if everything goes bad, I'll become a teacher.
That's what teachers do.
Yeah, you can't do, you teach. But yeah, so when it comes to your films and the way you've progressed, how far do you think you've come since then? And then we'll talk about Waterside.
Well, back in the day, like I said, I was just using webcams and really old late 2005 webcams, and now I'm using the Sony A7S, which is still the Mark 1, which came out 5 years ago.
It's still
it's
good,
never
though.
broken. It's never let me down. It always gives a crisp, beautiful image.
Yeah, you can do 1080, 24, 25, whatever it is, you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. The only difference between the Sony A7S Mark II is that it can do 4K. But what do I need 4K for on the internet? You know,
your internet isn't the best. Your computer's kind of sort of bleh. So
well, yeah, I have tried to handle 4K footage before, and it took 16 hours to render out an episode of something that Alan was making. And Alan took it from me and said, "I don't worry, I've got bigger RAM on my laptop," and it took him 2 hours to render it. So I spent 16 hours rendering it for him, and then it took him literally an eighth of the time.
Yeah, I think it's very much like nowadays the computers are really, really good for rendering. Like my computer can really only like the maximum it can handle at the moment is 1080/30. So when I'm making films for the next year or so until I upgrade my computer, I can only really record in 1080/24. So when it comes to like filmmaking in that regard, I'm going to be very limited to the high end of HD, which is good enough to be honest. Because when you think about it, 4K is very much just like if you can afford 4K and you've got the ability to do it, then I say go for it because the higher the quality, the better. But quality, the image quality, while important, isn't what you should mainly be thinking about. Like when you think about it. Televisions from like 2000s, which were shot in standard definition of 576p or I, it's not high definition, but it's still good. No. So it's more important about. I mean, I know that there's so many different like arguments for it with the technology and how it's advanced and how there are certain things they have that you probably won't have. But you really don't need the best equipment in the world, you know.
No, you don't. It's like I'm a great advocate of that. Like you've seen, or you know this anyway from other bits and pieces. A friend of mine, Pete, made a fan film. Well, he was making fan films back when I started, 2007 to 9, and he finally found on an old hard drive all the raw footage and something he'd never edited. So he finished it and sent it to me about 3 months ago, and I watched it and loved it. But a lot of people, when I posted it, going, "Look at this, it's amazing." People were like, "Oh, could be better," which is why I ended up going on that little like Instagram story rant about it, going, it's fans just having a passion. Yes, we can do better now, and that's not bad either. But like, it was the beginning, and fans can express themselves any way they want. Like you see, like if you really look deep, you're going to find Doctor Who figure adventures where you can see people's hands moving the figures, but it's their way of having expressing their creativity and fan films,
the content and all that.
It might not be something. Well, yeah, it might not be something you want to watch. You might not want to watch someone moving around figurines and going, "Hello, yes, hello." But it's their way of making it.
Their way of expressing themselves.
Well, yeah, exactly. And when you see like fan films where they're getting the toy TARDIS models and putting them in front of the screen, and because I've been so tempted to make a Doctor Who episode again, but in the way I used to make them when I was younger.
I mean, it's very so much about the standard of quality, because the issue with like progress of technology and things getting cheaper is that there's going to be a higher and higher expectation. Like a lot of short films, people expect you to upload in 4K even if they don't watch in it, because it's just the expectation of like, oh, this person may not have a lot of money, but most cameras now, like the GH5, which came out in 2017, it's still a really, really good camera, or 2016. It's still a really, really good camera, and yet it can record in 4K, it's or up to 6K or 5K or something like that, and it's just sort of like there's this expectation that because all the mainstream cameras are becoming 4K, like the Canon 80D I think has 4K now, and that's like an £800 camera. I'm not really sure, but yeah. Wrapping up just quickly, let's talk about Waterside and what it was like recording, filming seasons 2 to 5, because obviously you had,
Series 2 was the most simplest one, because I was filming that how I was organising other filming days before then, where it was just whenever I just give across the time. The difference was I was paying cast, so whenever I'd ask, "Are you free around then?" They'd say yes or no, and we'd organise it. The final day of filming season 2 was the most organised. My friend Peter, or people might know him as PMG, Peter Michael George, he became my first AD as an assistant director, and he organised the whole day for me, and we got about 10 people there, and we shot the rest of the series in a day, because he was saying that I was wasting money because more people were having to travel. If you just get it all shot in one day, that's less money on travel. And because of how much we were paying people per hour, it would also still be cheaper. So we did that, and we got all of Series 2, well, not all of it, but like the remainder, like half bits and pieces here and there, done in a day. And it was a really nice day. And then the biggest problem was, of course, I'm not getting any money back from this.
Yeah,
the problem being
I remember like you told me about like the financial crisis of yours after making Series 3, because you were making Series 4 when I met you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I'm leading into. I jumped into Series 3 too quickly. I was riding that happy wave of Season 2 because, again, people who don't know, Season 1 was made back in 2013 by Alan Rafferty, but he wasn't able to continue it, so it got cancelled until when we started filming in 2017. I took over production of it. I don't know I generally don't know what I would have done if Outside hadn't come along. Probably just a few more short films and saved money.
Yeah,
to be honest. But basically, we went from finishing Series 2 at the end of July to filming Series 3 by the end of September. There was not a huge gap, and as a result, by Christmas, I couldn't even afford to get to work anymore. And my dad, who is also my employer, I had to turn around to him and say, I can't afford to get to work. And he was not too pleased with me, as you can probably imagine, which is why we left a more healthier gap of 5 months until we started filming season 4.
Because I mean, Season 1 was 6 episodes, Season 2 was... Season 2 was 6 episodes, Season 3 was how many episodes? 6 still?
Six as well. But then Season 4 was 8 episodes, because we were basically working on the basis that Series 5 is the final season. It was always meant to be. We want to do as much build-up and then have a small event series with big stuff happening. But in the same way that when you see with Marvel films, with Infinity War and Endgame, all the plot development had been done. What you saw they were doing was they were just basically having the characters that you already knew very well acting how you knew they would act. And
Whereas, it was very much a thing of you were trying your best to make sure that the payoff was good. And we are short for time, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for talking to me, Chadders, and we'll see you guys with the next guest. And bye-bye for now.
All right, farewell.
The John Talks and Stuff podcast. Episode 3.
Connor Chadwick.
Farewell, farewell, farewell. Yeah, so, there we go, we've done it. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I did hear a shout.